Welcome YouTube guitar and home recording enthusiasts to my video about the Audient Sono. Now I can't tell you anything right now because I haven't even taken it out of the box. I'm going to do that with you right now. Here is the Sono that Audient sent me. And one of the reasons why I'm excited about this is because Guillaume stuck his French torpedo in there. Love doing that. So apparently this is an audio interface that has the torpedo loading cap simulation in there and also power amp simulation. It has a tube for preamp simulations, but also it's a tube, so maybe real tubey preamps, who knows? With the speaker simulation and power amp simulation technology from Two Notes in there. And at the same time, it's an audio interface with ins and outs. And apparently, which is the really, really cool thing, you can load up 3 presets of cab and amp and use this without a computer. So the question is, we're going to find out, does this work as a pedal board amp? Or could you use it like a cab M, running some kind of preamp into it and use it on your pedal board as a speaker simulator? So we're going to find out all of these things in this probably very lengthy video. I don't know yet because I haven't opened it. So let's do it. I'm opening it now. I don't know, first time ever. Quick installation guide. Be heard. I am, because I have a mic right there. What are you talking about? Okay. There are le câble. We have, very nice, a USB-C cable. I love it when everything you need is supplied. So that way I can go directly into the front of my OWC Thunderbolt 3 dock. There's a USB-C to USB, I'm going to say B, is this B? So definitely very nicely, not future-proofed, but up-to-date in terms of the cables. Nice packaging. There's a power supply, or le power supply. Sorry, anything with Guillaume's torpedo in it will have a lot of French. If you don't speak French, I'm sorry, you won't understand what I'm talking about. So this is one of those works in every country power supplies, and it clicks in, and now I've got German, or Germain, l'Allemagne, très bien, avec le 2 prong. So cool. So it needs 12 volt, 2000 milliamps. Well, at least that's what this delivers. Big question is, can you power this with a pedal board power supply? Well, 12 volt, 2000 milliamps, so it probably eats up at least 1000 or 1500. Would be difficult. There are some that can do it. The Chox TC7 that I have on the table could do it. If I take 2 outs, that's 1200, that's 1400. Probably not. So it's probably better to use the supplied power supply. Now, I just love the look of this. The color is really beautiful. And it's just got a modern, but also kind of retro vibe. I love that the knobs are guitar player friendly. They made it so everything on it is something a guitar player will gravitate towards. So definitely these knobs look like on many amps. You have input, drive, output. That's easy to understand for a guitar player. Let's go over here. You have bass, middle, and treble. You have 2 mic inputs. And then the output section, which is just volume, headphone out, and how much you're hearing your DAW and how much you're hearing your input, which is a typical, relatively typical knob. Now on the back, we can see the 2 mic inputs, each of them 48 volt capable. And input number 1, you can also send to the valve right here, or tube for those non-British people. No XLR outputs, just a straightforward 1/4" out, which is fine. Optical input, so the question is that SPDIF in, or could that even take ADAT in, which would give it 8 channels more? We'll find out. USB-C input, and then there's on and off with a really nifty little switch. And as of the filming of this video right now, that's all I can tell you. So let's go back to me in a week. So now it's a couple weeks later, and I have the Sono on the table and played around with it a little bit. There are a couple of things you need to wrap your head around when it comes to routing. This being a kind of home recording, and I don't want to say beginner, but home recording kind of an interface, you're gonna have to really think to understand the routing. I'm going, this is right now not plugged in, into an overdrive pedal, which is a tube screamer, kind of a thing from jam pedals. I'm going into the waterfall, which is a chorus. So these are pedals in front of my preamp and speaker simulation. I'm going into the guitar in. Now this is going into an amp. Yep, there's an Engel Screamer 2. I was hoping that what would happen is you go into the guitar input and it routes it directly through to your amp, and you can turn that in and on and off in the software, which you cannot. This is only to record the DI signal to the amp, so you can't play through your amp as far as I figured out. So it's record and then reamp, so that's your reamping out. So for clarity right now, I'm gonna unplug that. So I'm going in, and it's using the built-in preamp, input, drive, output, 3-band EQ. Be careful, the drive is not preamp drive. We're gonna get to that. And here you pick your cabs. I have it set up right now to, well, just go straight out into my speaker so I can hear what's going on. And right here, that mic, which we can't see in any of the cameras. Isn't that amazing? That's my Schoeps CMIT Mini, which I'm recording straight into Cubase with the Sono. So what you're hearing right now is, well, a mic that's 4 times the price of the Sono, but you're hearing the preamp of the Sono, and I have 48 volts on, and you can see that. Let's see, throw the Sono right next to me. To prove to you that what you're hearing is the preamp of the Sono, I'm just gonna get that down here. So right now, you can't hear it at all what I'm saying. So I'm gonna crank that up again. All of a sudden my voice is coming back. And now I have to level it again. Here that's much too much level. Hello, hello, hello. I am saying things. There's of course no compression or whatever on there. That's a straight going into the DAW signal. A little bit lower. So there we go. In Cubase, if Leslie throws the Mac on the screen, you can see the signal that was recorded, of course, there. I made a DI track, a torpedo track, and I also have a cab track, which we're going to use for reamping a bit later. So that's coming all from the Sono, which is right now my audio interface. When I go to the Sono software, right there, here are the inputs. Mic 1, which is right now the guitar, because I plugged in the guitar. As soon as something is plugged into the front, the mic input on the back is disabled. So if you want to use the mic, pull out the guitar. We're hearing this, it's not muted or anything. Mic 2 is my vocal mic. As you can see, right there. Okay, that is muted because otherwise I'm getting feedback in here. And then there's also a no cab slider, which is going around the built-in torpedo to record the DI. Now there's an optical, which right now is 2 mono tracks. I think that could that be set to ADAT? I hope so. Actually, let's see. And then there's a DAW, or DAW. So here's my stereo out of the DAW, which right now nothing's coming out because I'm recording. And then 3, which is the amp output. Where 4 comes out, I literally have no idea, because it doesn't have an extra output. So I don't know what that 4 is. You can tell I'm not very prepared. So, we're gonna get to that reamp out in a bit. I'm gonna call up the torpedo, which is right here. And it's a pretty simple interface. It's actually simpler than the arcade version of the torpedo. Here's a cabinet manager, which right now it's loaded up with 3 cabs. You can of course load more. These are all the cabs I own. And you can of course buy more from Two Notes. It comes with about 10. So right now, it only shows you the ones that are loaded in the Sono right now, which is a bit of a drag. Why can't there be more held into the torpedo? So I'm thinking if I take this to drag it here, it's sending it. Okay. What's happening? Let's see what's happening. Yes. Okay. Of course, I can't get to number 4 because I can only access 3 from the front. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. So the interface scales nicely, which is good. So you can see when I'm switching on the front of the Sono, it's going to the different cabs as presets. So I go to A, which in this case is a little Fender-y kind of a thing. And then you have your power amp simulation, only one tube available, bright or dark, and how close or far the mic is. You can't do anything else to the mic is fixed in the center position. And that's pretty much it. That's all you do, and you can mute it, but who wants that? On the Torpedo Cab M or the Live, there's different kind of tubes, there's more settings. This is a pretty reduced version. Now, important to note, this drive knob right here is not, you can see what's happening there, the power amp drive changes. See, it goes from off right now in the left position to hot. Now, what I think when I see a drive knob on a preamp, then I'm thinking it's the drive for the preamp and for the built-in tube, which is right here. So that didn't make an awful lot of sense to me. How do you drive the preamp tube is you crank the input on the Sono. So the input is your preamp drive, whereas the drive is your power amp saturation. I'm thinking those, the lingo is a bit misleading here to me and to pretty much anyone. So let's check it out. If I increase the input, and the drive is the power amp drive, which the fizzleness that you hear is that cab. So if I go to a different cab, now I've got a cab that's better for drive stuff. Okay, I drive the preamp. Now, here's the thing. My very first impression was, that's not great. What's the benefit? Any amp simulation will give you that or better. The amp simulation is you going into the audio interface going into the computer processing it, the computer doing all its stuff to it with some kind of bias effects or whatever they're all called, or IK Multimedia, and then guitar rig from Native Instruments, all of these. And then it goes out of your audio interface again, and you have latency. You have quite a bit of latency. Too much latency for me. This feels super direct. This feels like playing into an amp. There is a bit of latency, and you can see it right here. That's the difference between the DI signal and the torpedo signal. DI on top, torpedo signal at the bottom. There is a little bit of processing that needs to be done, but not anything that you notice. Now, does it sound like an amazing amp? I don't think it does. does it give you the immediate feedback and you record something and you're like, okay, this is, it's right here, timing-wise? Yes, it does. So if I'm gonna put my tube screamer in front of this, okay, well, the EQ works. How great is this as a sound? I'm gonna say for home recording and getting down an idea, it works. Is it brilliant? No. Do you want to keep that for an album? No. But it's gonna give you the playing feel of no latency. You don't have to change your playing, which I very much like. So... don't know what I'm doing. They can easily switch the caps around. It's loading it from the computer now. I can switch the room. Of course, I have to move the mic further away from the cap. It's a little bit much there. Put some chorus on there. So you can use that with your pedals easily, but let's see what other rooms we have. We have the loft. I love Studio B, that's my personal favorite. Here's Cathedral. So the idea is, have a very easy way to throw your pedals on the table and record them with some power amp saturation with a cab and not just a dry DI signal, which is just no fun. Now, capturing the DI signal means you can then reamp it. So what I'm going to do is, oh, crypt, we didn't go to crypt. Here we go. We go to Hall B. How does that sound? Good, I like that. Let's go. I want to show you what that sounds like DI. So we're going to go over here and only capture the DI, which is going to sound pretty damn bad. Sounds like going into a mixer direct. I can also just turn the cab off by holding this button. Now to get the hottest possible signal, DI, I'm going to crank the input a bit. You want to make sure that you're recording a pretty good DI signal because the difference between going out of the amp out of the Sono and going directly into the amp, that's where the difference is. Don't record a low signal because boosting it, you would have to digitally boost it in Cubase or in whatever DAW you use. So why am I playing all this crappy stuff? Because I want to show you the reamping possibilities. Now for that, I would have to skip back in my sequence. Well, I can't do that because I'm recording the voice with this mic right now. So I have a different kind of setup to go directly into my video recorder, which we're gonna do right now. I'll be right back. So now I'm using a different shotgun going directly into the video recorder, and what you can see, I made a copy of the DI signal right here, which I routed in Cubase. Where is it? DI out of DI, which is in the routing pane of Cubase. So the output, I have one called amp, which is going out of analog 3 to amp. And now, if I play that back, right here, let me make sure you guys can hear that because this is all rather complicated. Complicated video. So this is going, if I play this back and go to DAW, you should see on DAW 3, yes, there's my DI signal, which is that Tube Screamery jam pedal. Now I have that amp over there set up with a Lewitt MTP 440. So once I plug this in and I go to the amp, there will be quite a bit of hum and stuff because all of a sudden I have a grounding issue in here. Make sure when you're doing this reamping thing that you either have a hum eliminator or that you have, very clean power things. I don't. So that's what I'm getting. I'm getting quite a bit of hum. But now I can send this to the amp, which I can record with this input 1, which means I have to pull this out. Yeah, see, this is kind of confusing. Let's study that shit. So I'm going into the input 1 now with a dynamic mic, and I'm gonna level that. Okay, now I can just record that. So I've just reamped that DI thing. By plugging back the guitar, the mic input is turned off. I don't know why I recorded this mic. So playing this back now should only be the thing that I recorded. Okay, so that works. So that is something you can do. You record your DI. You had a low latency signal when you were playing, and later you can send that to your amp. Of course, you can just record your amp directly. You could even split it and go into the Sono and go into your amp. I was hoping that the Sono itself would do that by giving you a through to your amp. But as far as I can tell, it doesn't. I might be wrong about this. Please comment. And then, what else? Yeah, and you can actually, obviously send that DI signal to someone who's got a great amp and a great recording setup. You have options. I personally, am I the biggest proponent of reamping? I am not. You react to your amp quite a bit. So recording a DI signal and then sending that to someone with a really good amp and sending that into that really good amp, yeah, you can get results. And they could be a lot better than what you can do at home, or they can be a lot better than what you can do with your amp. However, it won't sound like you played through that amp because you're gonna react to the amp. That being said, if that's your only choice to get to a good amp, I'm not the guy to talk to because I got good shit. But if you are recording only with a laptop and the Sono, you still have the option of later getting a really good amp recorded, or taking your amp somewhere where you can crank it up and stuff like this. There are absolute reasons to do reamping. If you can do amping, always go and do amping. Play it as it is. Decide on the sound right then and there and go for it. It's going to give you the best results. But we can't always do that. The Sono allows you to easily get a DI signal and easily reamp that or send it to an amp and just get the recording of that, all in a very small and affordable box. Moving on, so how does the Sono sound when we're not using the built-in preamp? The built-in preamp is better than using a straight to board sound because you're going through a tube and you have tweaking options and all this. However, is it a brilliant guitar preamp like an amp would have? For me, it sounds a little bit too DI-ish. So we're gonna go and use another preamp, the Le Clean. So what I do, gonna go into the input of the Le Clean. So I am in the Le Clean now, and I'm sending that in the back. There's a little switch that says to valve. And now I'm sending that to the valve as well. So the Le Clean has a valve or tube. And I'm sending that in here as well. So this, it's still active. Interesting. Maybe I don't want to do that. Here we go. I gotta fiddle with the Le Clean in the outputs. Now it's on. Let's see. Gotta get the levels right here. Okay, the torpedo's back on. I like that. So I have now an output on the Le Clean. I have an input. So technically this should now be, the whole preamp section should be off. Let me check that. It's only partially off. So yeah, the only thing that happens is the drive still affects the digital saturation, as you can see on the knob over there moving. And I'm thinking with the Le Clean, I could get some fatter, warmer sounds. That works. So, for me, I'm not a big fan of playing into virtual instruments because of the latency. This eliminates it. It would be a placeholder kind of thing for me. but a pretty good one. Or for a demo, absolutely fine. I would even guarantee you that in a lot of situations within a mix, totally fine, especially within the clean. So who is the Sono for, really? Is it for someone like me with a wall of amps and an aux and a Waza tube amp expander and a Tone King attenuator and a Torpedo Reload and a Torpedo Live and a Torpedo Studio? No, I'm also insane. It is for the home recording guy, for the guitar player on the go because it's rather small and lightweight. It is a great solution. Strap on some headphones, put a pedal in front of it, and just get a signal right out of the box that doesn't even go into the computer, because the torpedo is happening inside the Sono. So it's pretty much happening right there without going into the computer. It's just sending it also to the computer over there. And that guarantees the lowest latency possible, with still good sounds. Now, I wish the Torpedo software portion of it was more fully featured. It feels like the smallest possible version of the Torpedo software I've seen to date. It's the arcade version, but even more stripped down. Which, of course, because, come on, Torpedo people, Two Notes wants to sell their Cab M. If this could hold 3 full Cab M profiles or speakers, well, then why sell the Cab M? And stuff like this. I mean, you gotta scale it down somewhere. But to get a speaker simulated sound right out of the box with low latency, that works. The DI and reamping is pretty cool, but if we forget about all of that, it's a 2-input, 2-output audio interface that sounds good because it's got Audient preamps in it. And it also has a digital input, optical, which means you can actually add more preamps, probably from Audient. I heard they have a great 8x8 or something preamp to it with light pipe, so that's cool. Realistically, this is the interface for the guitar player. Is it the interface you put on the table and immediately get how it works? I don't think so. You're gonna have to spend a little bit of time with it to really wrap your head around the routing. And the software has a couple of sliders, very easy. But you might want to mute the no cap, because that's the pure DI signal. You might not want to hear that. You might want to record that, but not hear it. You have to wrap your head around the fact that the drive isn't the drive, that's power amp saturation. The actual drive, which isn't much drive, is the input. Stuff like this. Once you get that, and you understand, okay, guitar in, but once my guitar is in, my mic in is turned off. It's either or, and guitar input takes precedence over mic input. The 2-amp is great. I wish it was a plug-in and go to the amp and have it routed through automatically so that I can play my amp and hear that and even record that on mic input too, and also record a DI signal. As far as I can tell, that's not happening. Don't know why. But in the forest of audio interfaces, this is one tailored to guitar players with a couple of features that we very much appreciate, and overall great quality that really, just says Audient on it. So what are you thinking about? That's what I got to say. Also, of course, the nice people from Two Notes make good shit. So I see the Torpedo as kind of like icing on the cake, not really one of the main features. It all comes together. Made for guitar, tube warmth for your pedals. All of it together make a guitar player's interface. So thanks Audient for sending this over. And thanks Two Notes for being friends for a long time. I gotta say that, full disclaimer, And also, links below and animals at the end.
not reflect the good ones who elected to adjust nice. There's something to be said